We have rested enough. It is time for action. Every Lightwarden is slain except for the one in Calusia. With the help of Reen, we will locate it and put an end to the insufferable light that resides on the first. In doing so, we will have stopped the rejoining and halted the 8th Umbral calamity. Y'shtola taunts Emmett. Did he hear us? His plan for rejoining will soon be in tatters. Is he not going to intervene? He shrugs. We think that slaying the Sin Eaters is enough to save this world, but it isn't. We are only delaying the inevitable. We are foolish and misguided, short-sighted, blind to the future. It's just a limitation of our existence. Just because we seem insignificant to him doesn't mean that we cannot achieve lasting change in our short lives. The Ascians are not special beings. In the beginning, everyone lived for eternity. It was the natural order of things. It wasn't until we became fragmented that it was taken away from us. He borrows the Exarch's tower and snaps his fingers to show us a projection. He recounts the tale he told us in the Katana Ravel. But what he didn't explain is how Hydaelyn's blow truly affected the world. Zodiac was given the power to invigorate, so to counter him, Hydaelyn was given the power to enervate. The blow did not target flesh, but one's very existence. If she were to strike one of us, it would create two identical individuals, reduced in all aspects as the soul itself is halved. Hydaelyn struck not only Zodiac with this power, but also the world, hence the 13 reflections. Only 3 people were able to escape the sundering: Emmett Selk, Laha Brea, and Elidibus. When he saw the shattered remnants of his home, he fell into despair. The inhabitants were feeble, frail, and foolish, so they set out to rejoin the worlds. In their eagerness, they made the 13th a useless void. However, that failure was not completely useless, as they found out that there was a connection between the source and the shard. Ever since then, they knew what they had to do, and have been following the same plan for almost a millennium. If we were to take an Ascian's perspective, then what they say does sound logical, but we cannot ignore the number of lives they have taken to achieve their goal. Our fragmented existence has killed more than he ever could, and besides, he doesn't consider us to be truly alive. Therefore, if he kills us, then he will not be guilty of murder. What he just said is unconscionable. To say that none of us in this room are truly alive in his eyes is... Nobody has a response to that. Oh, don't look at him like that. We who he only holds the highest expectations. A vaunted hero of the Source, 7 times rejoined. Long has he awaited for one who might brave the path and endure the pain. He hopes that the wait is over. Finish our task, slay the final Lightwarden, prove we are useful, and then we may speak again. Lena interrupts the meeting. The message she came to deliver couldn't wait until after. It seems like Eulmore is moving its forces to key points throughout the city, making ready to defend against an attack. Why would he move to defend the city instead of attacking us? He doesn't care for his civilians, so there must be another reason. Maybe he's hiding the Lightwarden within his walls. We must hurry and start our operation now. If we act fast, we can catch them unprepared. We meet Alphino and Reen in Right to see if she can locate the Lightwarden from here. Eulmore is too far away and her reading is muddied and unclear. We need to get closer. We clear a path to Gate Town for her, yet on the way we spot some civilians. They are delirious, calling out Vauthry's name. A group of them even attack us. In front of Gate Town, we can see even more civilians. They are motionlessly staring at Eulmore, as if they were caught in some kind of trance. The Exarch said that he had the power to control people. Maybe he's finally activated it. Reen can sense a powerful Sin Eater at the top of Eulmore, yet the light she senses is impure. To figure out what is happening, we need to enter Eulmore itself. Kai Shear, the Mistel from before, is also here. He saw what happened. A hot, sticky wind began blowing throughout Gate Town. That wind seemed to make everyone enthralled, except for him and a couple of newcomers. Y'shtola rushes over and asks Reen to look at some miol. As far as we know, it is just some foodstuffs they give out to the people of Gatetown. Yet Reen's reaction does not befit that description. She stutters her words. No, it couldn't be. It's Sinita. Miol is made of Sinita. In small amounts of quantities, it may have little effect on the average person. Yet, if someone was to consume it over several years, it would do more than just nourish the body. Vauthry wields power over Sinitas. Therefore, those who eat miol are vulnerable to his influence. Hence why Kai Shear and the other newcomers are not under his spell. If you remember what we heard in Eulmore, there is this ascension business where Sinitas shepherd them unto celestial paradise, or so at least they'd have you believe. What's happening is that they are being turned into Sinitas, then turned into miol, and then fed to the people of Eulmore in Gatetown. The Lightwarden lies at the top of Eulmore, and we mean to slay it. They know our faces and are prepared to stop us from reaching it. Therefore, subterfuge is no longer an option. We must face this head-on and put an end to this paradise. The moment we enter Eulmore, Vauthry can feel our presence. He commands the nearby enthralled civilians to keep us away from him. The bastard would rather use his own people as shields. We must hold back our strength as much as possible and try to render them unable to fight. Our comrades hold off the rest of the civilians and allow both Alphino and us to enter Eulmore. The two jongleurs that usually announce when people get selected to enter the City of Paradise confront us. They seem to not be enthralled like the rest, so considering they are fighting us of their own free will, we will not hold back. With the help of Alphino, we can defeat both of them. We race up the stairs and collide with more soldiers. He will hold them off whilst we go on ahead. We head past the aetherite crystal and Ranjit blocks our path. He wastes no time in attempting to fight us without combining with his companion Gukumats. We will find Vauthry in his chamber, but we shall only reach it if we kill him, and we will not. Why does he go so far? As much as we'd like to think that he is under Vauthry's spell, he isn't. He upholds his ideals of his own volition. Man is a flawed creature who pursues righteousness, but sows seeds for future conflict. Therefore, he has placed his hopes on the one who has transcended man. But enough talk. We are his enemy, and he is a soldier. Let us settle this score once and for all. We prepare to fight the final battle with Ranjit. He has only ever been a weapon for Vauthry, and as a weapon, he only exists to destroy, which means he must destroy us. If we would pass him, then we must endure all that he has learned on the battlefield, for he is a weapon forged in the fires of war. Yet, in a battle of wills and strength, he was found wanting, and we deal the final blow. In his final moments, he can finally see his precious girls, the Minfilias he trained in the past. The rest of the Scions catch up to us and tell us that most of the civilians have been rounded up and subdued. We are free to enter the upper levels together. We confront Vauthry and we see him feasting on miol. His reign of tyranny is at an end. His paradise built on the poor is over. If he has a shred of remorse, then he should use his powers for the betterment of Norvrandt. He ignores the words Alphino speaks to him, yet Reen is shocked to her very core. The Warden is not just a Sinita, it is a man. Vauthry's head spins around in a full 180. Why would he have any remorse? There is no justice but his, no future but his, no will but his. It is preordained. He was born to deliver this wretched world, and we are trying to unseat him. That is impossible, inconceivable. He is a great and wise king. He reigns from on high. He will not be brought low by maggots like us. But of course, he can rebuild his paradise. He just needs to finish his dinner. He reaches for his fork and places the meal into his mouth. Reen begs Thancred to stop him, yet it is too late. Vauthry lets out a shriek which staggers all of us. In our confusion, he sprouts tiny wings and flies out of Eulmore. Just as we finally gain our bearings, a sudden quake can be felt throughout all of Calusia. With his might, he has rendered Mount Golg out of the landscape and lifted it into the heavens. We must give chase. How will we get up there? Even though we are desperate to continue in our hunt, Alphinaud asks us for a moment. There are injured civilians here who require our help. Please, even if it's just enough to tend to their wounds. He doesn't need our permission. In fact, we will help too. If the enthrallment is situated in light, then Reen might be able to remove some of its effects. We are given some dream powder and are told to calm these restless souls so that Reen can treat them. She is overworked as it is and is struggling to keep up, so we even offer to bring up those who are afflicted to her. After some time, Reen treats the final patient. The remaining civilians are completely disoriented. They have no clue what's going on. Alphinaud tells us he will be the one to handle this. He addresses the people and tells them that this whole time Vauthry had been a Lightwarden and everything he offered was a lie. The people are not taking this news well, so he's saying that they've been his puppet the entire time. When they attacked us, yes, they were his thrall, yet everything they did before that moment was of their own volition. They came to this city and treated the poor with disdain. It is not for us to judge them. It is for history and their conscience. They are free to share this world of ours. Join us, and together we will begin anew. We've lost so many already. We dare not lose any more. The citizens stare at the floor. His words have struck a chord with them, but it has also changed their minds. This is seen when they overhear us talking about reaching Vauthry. They ask if there is anything they can do to help. The citizens want to pay back all the wrongdoings they have done. We risked our lives to save theirs, and they are forever in our debt. They wish to repay it. We need to reach Mount Golg. Does anyone know of a way to reach it? Nobody has any real answers we can use, except for an elderly woman who speaks of a lift named the Ladder. It was functional back in her day. It used Talos to maneuver the levers and bring miners up and down Brightcliff. If we know anything about Talos, it's that without the right people, they are almost impossible to get into working conditions again. But it seems like luck is on our side, as Chai Nuz is the heir to the Daedalus Stoneworks, who had the contracts to create the mining venture in the hills of Amber. With his knowledge, the Talos will be in working condition in no time. Alphinaud's words have caused the sloth that lies within Eulmore to finally start working once more. Norvrandt now walks hand in hand, striving for a better tomorrow. Luckily, the Talos Chai found are in good condition. Alas, we are missing some extra materials. It is our job to find some extra lumber for the lift. We head down to the lumberyard and ask to borrow some lumber. They question us as they are curious about what we are using the lumber for, to which we respond, it is to repair the lift. At first they don't believe us, but we reiterate the point. The second time around they believe us and offer up their services as they have been wanting something to do that would be a challenge. With the lumber secured, as well as the extra workers, we return to Urian J, who tells us to save our strength and watch them finish the lift instead. We stand off to the side. We can't help but grin at the sight of all the people working together like this, all of the same mind and goal. Emmett appears, agreeing with the sentiment we have just expressed. He asks us if we know what is the best way to deal with people who cannot see reason. Conquer them. It was what the Alex did best, and it was the tried and true method of Garlemald. But that is the easy part. Once the dust has settled, the hard part is trying to create peace. This requires the conqueror to treat the conquered with respect, and the conquered to forgive and forget. A pretty difficult thing to achieve, yet we've done that very feat right here, something he is quite surprised about. This is meant to be a compliment. The vibrant energy of when like-minded individuals gathering together makes Emmett reminiscent of the old days. It even brings a tear to his eye. Wait, he can cry? Did we think he couldn't? If our heart can be broken, then so can his. Back when the world was one, they had family, friends, and loved ones. Man knew peace and were content with their lives. There was no conflict, as the differences between each other were insignificant next to everything they had in common. There was a city named Amarot. Its magnificence is still unmatched to this day. Not that we would remember any of this. Remember? Never mind that. The point he is trying to make is that the world of Eld was a better place than any of the current reflections put together. Just remember this. We are from the source. If we would survive the remaining calamities, they would see us as equals, a complete existence in a complete world. But such talk is pleasure for later. Back to work, hero. Just as Emmett leaves, they bring the Talos to life. Ardbert is also watching this unfold. When we first came to this world, we saw him as a dark figure who didn't have a sense of who or what he was. He never really questioned how he ended up like that. Until now. Everything had become too much. The guilt of causing the flood, knowing that everyone hated him. But the worst thing was the loneliness. The time he spent alone ate away at him. He was close to being finished before he met us. He can't even imagine what it has done to Emmett Selk. Don't make a choice that leaves you alone. Nothing is worth that. Alphino and Alize rush over to report that the ladder is alive once more. They want the three of us to do the honors of riding the lift to the top first.
We rode the ladder too, my comrades and I. Once upon a time. Watched the horizon grow, and the town shrink below us, awed and terrified in equal measure. We ascended without a word, the silence broken only by the rhythm of the gears. No one but me remembers that day, remembers our journey and our end. Retread the path, seek, and you may yet find.
We arrive at the top of Brightcliff, and just when we thought we could settle after the rickety ride up, Alize yells for both of us to come over to her quickly. That is when she tells us she spotted someone in the distance spying on us. We spot this person, and they race off to a nearby village. We can tell by the meat hung up to dry and the lukewarm cup of tea in the bar that this village is being lived in, yet they refuse to come and greet us. That is until Tristol comes out of hiding to reveal that this village is a place for the exiles of Eulmore. They had believed that we were with Eulmore and had come to punish them, which is not true. We tell him that Vauthry is a Lightwarden and we are here to stop him. We only ask that we be able to use his village as a base of operations until we have dealt with Vauthry. Whilst Alphino lingers to speak with Tristol, together with Alize, we check the road near Mount Gulg. There are diverging paths, and we are told to take the western one. On the road, we collide with many Sinitars as we inch ever closer to Mount Gulg. Alize is at the bottom of Mount Gulg. She has also noticed the increased amount of Sinitar activity around here. It has something to do with Vauthry. He is calling every Sinitar in the vicinity to come and protect him from us. From what it seems, Mount Gulg is completely detached from the land below, making it impossible to climb. Flying is going to be our only option. Some Allagan drones fly overhead, aiming straight for Mount Gulg. Before they can get anywhere near its base, a torrent of Sinitars appears from nowhere, destroying the devices in an instant. Urian J and the Exarch are here. He wants to witness the final struggle with his own eyes. As for the devices, they used them as a test to see if it was even possible to fly up there, which from what we can tell, isn't an option anymore. We must consider another course of action. We should return to where the lift dropped us off and convene with our allies. Maybe if we put our heads together, we may find a solution to this problem. We recount to them the test the Exarch just did. Flying is not an option. All of us try to put our heads together to figure out a way up to him. Dulia Chai rambles about how she wishes she could just bring Mount Gold down to the ground. What was thought to be incoherent ramblings has given Y'shtola an idea. Instead of Mount Gulg returning to the lands, maybe the lands should go to Mount Gulg. She believes we could use a Talos large enough to reach out and take the volcano in its grasp. China's blurts out that this is absurd. Nobody has ever built a Talos that big. Its design would be too complex. Yet, if all it needed to do was grasp into the mountain, then a solid base, firmly rooted to the ground, sacrificed mobility to simplify the construction, reducing the materials required. He snaps himself out of the trance. He almost convinced himself that it was achievable. Even if it was, we lack the people we need to do it. If left to the crew at the bottom of the lift, it would take years. So what does he need? First, he would need miners to procure the stones to make the chassis. Thancred and Reen will go to Twine to enlist the help of the miners there. Alizé will head to Mord Suk to see if she can find anyone willing to help too. Alphino will return to Eulmore. There are a multitude of talented folk there. Their skills may be of use to us. Anything else? Yes, magic. Lots of it. Without it, it will be impossible to awaken the Talos. Y'shtola will head to Raktika and request the aid of the Knights Blessed. Urianger was going to enlist the help of the Fey folk, but they might end up ruining the plan. Instead, he will enlist the people of the Crystarium. Shai Nuz is in disbelief. Not only are we able to call on both the people of Eulmore and the Crystarium, but we can even ask for the Knights Blessed, Maud, and the miners for help. Just who the hell are we? We are the saviors of this world. Are we being serious? Oh gods, we are, aren't we? He will have everything he needs, so make sure to have the design ready by the time everyone arrives. The whole of Norvrandt is counting on him. This leaves both the Exarch and us with an unassigned role, meaning that we will assist Shai Nuz. It seems like he has lost confidence in his own ability. He believes he cannot do it. Yet, with a bit of encouragement, we reignite his enthusiasm. The first thing he needs to do is find out the lay of the land, and to do this, he needs to speak with the people who know it. He must meet with Tristal. If you remember, the Chais were the ones who threw him out of Eulmore initially. They now come begging for his forgiveness and asking for his aid. Luckily, Tristal is compassionate enough to forgive the Chais and provides them with any knowledge they may require for the project. One thing he forgot to mention is that he needs something to make the Talos' core. The materials is best mined in the same location the chassis is made from. In that case, we are to seek the dwarven tribe that lives northwest of here. We greet the chieftain of the dwarfs, Zamot, with a hearty lally ho, and once we tell them of why we have come, they agree to help us out. The ore we are looking for is known as Earthseed. It is a precious ore mined in these parts, so we will need one of their top miners to do the trick. One of their miners volunteer themselves. They are named Korut. If the fate of Calusia relies on them digging up Earthseed, then he is the best man for this job. Yet, where he has perfect precision when it comes to mining, his combat skills are almost non-existent. If we bring him, he will be nothing but a burden until we reach the mine. His heart is burning with passion that it's impossible to deny him. We will take care of him as long as he takes care of the ore. The path to the cave is riddled with sin-eaters. We cannot go a couple of moms before bumping into some. Each time we have to make sure Korut comes out unharmed. As we are going towards a cave that is near Mount Gulg, the closer we get, the more sin-eaters we have to battle. Yet the combined might of the Exarch and us is nothing when compared to a few sin-eaters. We enter the sulfur mine, and it seems like we aren't the only ones here. The Exarch makes Karut invisible, so he can mine without anyone disturbing him. Eventually, he returns with a giant sack of earthseed. Thanks to this, we now have the ore we need to construct the Talos' core. The Exarch will bring this to Chai Nuz post-haste, and we are to escort Karut home. Just as a little extra, Xamot provides us with pickaxes for our troubles. If we are going to be building a Talos, we are going to need them. He has noticed a gathering appearing at the top of the lift. Make sure that everyone has a tool to use. It seems like they have their hands ready, but lack the tools to start. This is where Xamot's parting gift truly comes in handy, as we have just enough pickaxes for those that are here. We go to each group, handing out the pickaxes one by one. There are a lot of familiar faces. In the first group, Kai Shear is here, along with a few other free folk within Eulmore. With the pickaxes in hand, they can finally begin working. He still hasn't thanked us for everything we've done for him, but he will one day, and he will keep fighting with us until the very end. The second group has people from Twine, Magnus, Thaf, and Jerik, along with some of the Vis that live in Fano. Magnus isn't a miner, but this time he feels as if his wife will be with him, guiding his hand with every strike. So let's make it happen. Let's build a world where everyone can live without fear, where everyone has a place they can go home to. The final group has Ronron from Mord Suk. He has brought his tasty worm delicacy along with him. There is also a caregiver here from Journey's Head, the one that lost sight of Haldred, and the one that inadvertently caused Teslin's death. When the knight returned to Armor Reng, it halted the transformation process in the patients. It uplifted the mood of the carers there. When Alize came along asking for help, all of them answered the call. Yet they cannot leave the patients all alone, so they sent as many as could be spared. If there is nothing else we need to do, then Alphino would like us to return to the heart of the operation in Amity. Chai Nuz has received the Earthseed from the Exarch, which is the perfect amount needed to make the core. It seems in his calculations, he might have misjudged how little a singular core is to sustain a Talos of this size. It would be better to have smaller hearts throughout the Talos to spread the energy far and wide. Luckily, Y'shtola had thought about this and asked the Knights Blessed to procure their heartstones. Yes, the very things that are their dearest treasures, given at birth and stays with you past your death. Once they saw the sunless sea with their own eyes, they knew others had to see it. They will give up their heartstones if it means restoring night to the whole world. For good luck, Y'shtola wants us to imbue a heartstone. This jade-colored stone is familiar. It is the same stone we rescued for the funeral back in Raktika, Todia's heartstone. It now bears the collective hope of all the Knights Blessed, a hope that none shall ever again be sacrificed to the Sin-Eaters. With these heartstones, it should be more than enough to power the gigantic Talos. The plans are all ready. All that's left to be done is manual labor. Urian J takes his leave, but Y'shtola stops him. Is he sure that he has countermeasures set in place, ready for the moment we cannot contain the light? He does. All he requires is in this land. Don't worry, we trust you, Urian J. He will see to it that our trust is not misplaced in him. So rest easy, my friend, for we need to save our strength for the battles to come. If we want to find the Exarch, Chai Nuz saw him in the bar speaking with his wife. He should still be there. Yet, when we enter, he is not. Not even Dulia Chai knows where he is. We go looking for him and find him sleeping atop a cliff, refreshing his senses with the sea breeze. He talks in his sleep-like state. The future is where my destiny awaits, before realizing that he is no longer dreaming. He has spent too much time away from the tower, and it is exhausting him. This is because he does not have a body anymore. When he realized that his goal of salvation was going to take more years than he had left to live, he became one with the tower. This allowed him to live forever, but it comes with the drawback of needing to stay near it at all times. It has been a long journey, but now, thanks to us, the end is finally in sight. How goes the construction effort? Everything is nearly complete. We are waiting for them to do the final touches. Then this may be the last moment we have for ourselves. Come, sit. We sit beside him, and he asks yet another question. What will we do once this is all over? We still have to settle matters with the Empire. Ah yes, even if we stop the 8th Umbral Calamity, there is still the war raging on the source. But to declare our intent with such resolve truly shows why we are a hero's hero. Whatever we may decide to do, he has confidence that we have the strength to do it. We leave countless lives better than when we found them, and the souls we touch will never forget our kindness. In trying times when we question our choices, their voices will ring out and remind us of the differences we have made. Our deeds will come to affirm our path. What will he do when this is all over? He once told us that there are things he cannot afford to lose. By things, he means a person. They do not know the true intent of his goals, but they deserve to know. He wants to tell them everything he is keeping secret, for a chance to speak with them as if they were friends. He would love to exchange tales between them, and when he goes on his next adventure, he wishes they'd ask him to come along with them. Together, they would travel across the lands and seas, and take to the skies on the eternal wind. Oh, how happy he'd be. His heart swells just thinking about it. But all of this depends on the outcome of this battle. The people of this world have entrusted their hopes to us, and we cannot fail them, nor those who roused him from his slumber. We both return to Amity. The Chais are happy to see that the Exarch was found safe and sound. In the time we were gone, they have worked tirelessly to prepare the Talos, and they believe it is ready. We give the command, and an enormous blast of ether surges from the mountaintop. Its shockwave is felt across all of Norvrandt. From the dust cloud that was created rises a gigantic Talos unlike ever seen or created throughout the annals of history. I like to imagine that this is the king of Talos. It even has a crown. Its hands are reaching out towards Mount Gulg. The countless Sin-Eaters are attempting to stop it from doing just that. They blast its hands, and it starts to crack and split its fingers. If they break, then he cannot grab the mountain. We are about to leave to cause a distraction at the foot of the mountain to make the Sin-Eaters split their attention. But in the nick of time, Titania arrives with the other Fae folk. What a cold, cruel, and heartless sapling we are. They told us that in our time of need, we should summon them. Yet they find the final battle has begun without so much as a whisper of their name. Well, they may have also said that the Fae folk have no interest in the struggles of men, but if we had come crying to them for help, then they would have come to help us. What are they supposed to do with us? They are so very sad, so instead, they will play with the Sin-Eaters to cheer themselves up. With the distraction from the Fae folk, the king of Talos reaches Mount Gulg. He grips the mountain with his gigantic hands, and now has created a path for us up into Vauthry's domain. Toppled from his seat of power, Vauthry, the Final Lightwarden, has fled to Mount Gulg, whose fiery summit now hangs in the firmament beyond his enemy's reach. However, with the aid of the myriad peoples of Norvrandt, we succeed in building a gigantic Talos that rises to take the volcano in its grasp. Using the golem's rocky body as a bridge, we begin the arduous ascent to our quarry's newly built paradise, there to put an end to the tyranny of light. Traversing the body of the giant Talos, born of the collective hopes of the realm's people, we have carved a path to Vauthry's sanctuary. Here, We will corner the unrepentant Vauthry, who declares his intent to expunge us and rule over creation as an immaculate being. The moment we enter the mountain, Vauthry can feel our presence. He doesn't wait to bombard our location with Sin-Eaters, but they are not enough to stop us. We slay his allies and push further into Mount Gulg. As we get closer to the center of his domain, the nearby mountain has been converted into heavenly architecture, buildings of the purest white. If we didn't know where we were, I'd have to say we were in paradise. But that is not the case, for Vauthry's paradise is flawed. As we reach the peak of the mountain, we race to confront Vauthry, but he sends his favorite to block us. Forgiven Obscenity, the consort of sin. Of the myriad of Sin-Eaters Lord Vauthry kept at his beck and call, this was said to be among his favorites. In another life, she was rumored to be a songstress of the Beehive, who would ultimately find a higher calling at his side. One can but imagine how it came to be known by such a sinful moniker. Their light is almost enough to rival a Lightwarden. This battle will not be easy, but with the aid of our allies, we are able to take it down. Nothing stands between us and Vauthry now. The end is finally here. His voice echoes throughout Calusia. Unrepentant villains, will we not be satisfied until we have brought disaster upon our own heads? By our wickedness, we stand to gain naught but ceaseless conflict. Had we only entrusted our fates to him, there would have been peace for all. We could have lived in bliss in his eternal paradise, free from the burdens of conscience and purpose. He may have thought that what he was offering us is peace. In fact, there was a point in time even we believed that he could be changed to walk hand in hand with us for the betterment of Norvrandt. But now we know that cannot happen. His actions have proven that much. He says he wants peace, yet the moment trouble came knocking, he threw the civilians at us to defend himself. If his paradise exists only because he survives, then it only exists for him. The people will not submit to him. Everyone who stands with us has something that they would die for. They know in their hearts what they want for this world, and by lending their strength to our cause, they have spoken. No matter how hard he tries to bend the world to his will, we shall never submit. Vauthry demands that we be quiet. How dare we lecture him? We shall learn our place. He summons countless Sin-Eaters to our location. With his true powers awakened, he will expunge us like the filth we are. Our demise will serve as a reminder to all that he is the zenith of mankind and Sin-Eater, chosen to rule over creation by right of transcendence. His very existence is virtuous. He is perfect, immaculate. The Scions will hold off the Sin-Eaters here. We are to go on ahead and face Vauthry. At struggle's end, will man live a waking dream in false paradise, or will he live a painful existence in a harsh reality, yet be free to follow his own heart? Beneath a blazing sky, the battle for the fate of the world will unfold.
Are you so determined to die? One last chance, villains! Bow down and acknowledge your king! Your god!
We face Vauthry, and his strength matches that of the Lightwardens we have faced prior. He summons Sin-Eaters to aid him in this battle. Yet midway through, the light within surges out, bringing him to his knees. His back splits open as a golden wing pierces through. Then another. His eyes and mouth radiate with the brightest white, and finally, a light blinds us. His original form is gone. He has ascended. He assumed the form of innocence, an entity whose radiant might and presence would eclipse all wardens that had come before. He tries to expunge the sins of our existence. but it is not enough. He is brought low by our might. He is on the floor, lamenting at his weakness. Why is it he is cast down when it is we who are villains? Father told him he is hope, he is righteousness, that he is God. That is why he was born as a man, and as a sin eater. He kept the people safe. They respected him, worshipped him. He should be the one looking down at us. Help me, damn you. He is our God. The light from his body dissipates and is absorbed into our being. The sky wanes and reveals the sunless sea that lies beneath. Finally, the first is saved. Suddenly, our echo activates and grants us a vision. We see the royal chambers of Eulmore with the former mayor and his wife. The people are decrying him as mayor, but without his decisiveness, there would have been more casualties. He did the best they could, and they don't even know it. It must be those wretches who are trying to usurp him. They must be stirring up the civilians to throw him out. Emmett appears and reveals himself to the mayor. He has a proposal for him, one that will secure his rule. If he wishes it, he will bring a Lightwarden here, and by giving it to his unborn child, they will have created a transcendent being. Time skips forward to the child's birth. We see the forgiven cruelty sitting like some kind of docile animal when in front of Vauthry. Now his bloodline will be guaranteed to lead forevermore, and under their banner, people will stop fighting and abandon their ambitions. They will grow complacent, and their sloth will seal his supremacy. The vision ends here. We return to the scene from before, and the light within surges out. We cannot contain this primordial light any longer. We are turning into a sin eater. The night sky above us disappears under the light once more. The crystal Exarch approaches us. The light of the wardens is too much for a single person to bear. He shall relieve us from it. He places a barrier around us and starts to take the light away from us. Y'shtola reaches for her staff, but Urianger stops her. What is the Exarch intending to do? He will use the power of the Lightwardens and channel it into the Crystal Tower so that he can visit other worlds. For so long has he dreamed about doing this. Who would want to remain here in this dying realm? That is why he used us. The Scions don't believe him and ready themselves to interrupt the spell. But again, Urianger demands that they do not interfere. Y'shtola realizes what's happening. What he just said was nothing more than fiction. Such teleportations have zero chance of success. His real goal is to take the light away from us and bring it into the rift, where he can die alone, along with the light. Since the beginning, he has intended to sacrifice himself to save Norvrandt and us.
At journey's end, an opportunistic thief makes off with the hero's prize. A paltry way to end a chapter, I concede. Yet your tale will continue, and my role in it will scarcely be remembered. Worry not. Whatever should become of me, I will be happy and free, safe in the knowledge that I have played my part.
We call out his name.
Thank you for fighting for this world, for believing. Fare you well, my friend. My inspiration.
We hear the sound of a gunshot. It was fired by Emmett Selk, and the bullet finds its mark in the Exarch's back. Only those who possess the royal eye of Alec can control the Crystal Tower. Those individuals do not exist on the first, so he already surmised that the Exarch came here with the tower, but he did not know of his plan. Just to think that he was willing to go through all of that just for a hero is absurd. But it's not his plan that will succeed. The Scions almost leap at Emmett in retaliation, but are stopped. The Exarch isn't dead just yet, but our actions may affect that. He looks over at us. We are such a disappointment. He honestly believed that we could contain the light, but look at us now. We are becoming a monster, something unworthy of his patronage. What does he intend to do now? He is an Ashen. His sole desire is to usher in a great rejoining. 100 years ago, he commanded Loghrif to increase the light sway of this world. In the beginning, they did this by manipulating heroes, but that turned out not to be enough, so he created Vauthry. Even that plan is now in flames because of us. What was his true purpose in approaching us? He has never told a single lie. We were specimens by which he might gauge man's potential. He genuinely had an interest in us, and he wanted to take us on as allies, but only if we could contain the light. If we couldn't, then none of us would be of use to him. It was as simple as that. Even if we fulfilled his conditions, what if we didn't cooperate? Then he would have just killed us all, and the world would have returned to the same state it was prior to us slaying the Lightwardens. The actions of the Exarch actually had him scared. If all the light were to be taken away, to die in the rift, then their plans would have been stopped. The light surges again, and it comes out of our mouth. Somehow, we still retain our form and senses, but we have all but become a Sin Eater. Whether we want it or not, our existence will engulf this world in light. Those in our company would end up turning into Sin Eaters as well, and eventually we will succumb to the light and feast on the innocent's ether. Those with the will may try to rise up against us, but they will fall when put against our might. What Vauthry had achieved through bliss, we shall achieve by despair. He looks forward to seeing us bring this world to its knees. He snaps his fingers, and the Exarch disappears. He has taken him as a small token for all the time and effort he has wasted on us. He didn't think he could ever learn anything from man, but he may yet learn something from him. He pities us, you know. Our friends are now our foes. If we do not kill them, they will have to kill us. If it all becomes too much to bear, seek him out at his abode at the darkest depths of the Tempest. There, we may complete our descent into madness with some dignity, far away from prying eyes. Till then, he bids us farewell, Eater. This scene was earlier in the story, but it messed with the flow, so instead I put it here at the end. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace in the source, Varys is with Xenos. Xenos has quelled the rumors that a demon possesses his son. They may now rely on patriotic zeal to prevent them from resurfacing. As for Emmett Selk, he has moved to the First to usher that world to its end. One of his reports brought back some interesting information, that the Scions of the Seventh Dawn are no longer on the source. They have traveled to the First to prevent its destruction. They can take out the Lions along with the Scions. Then when we return, they can strike us down before we can even realize what has happened. Thus can their true objective be brought to life. Hydaelyn's champions threaten the reins of fate from our grasp. The world is at risk of being dragged down the false path, one which will never see man reclaim their true form. The time is now. We must order the armies to march once more and crush all who stand in his way. Isn't this his heart's desire, to achieve victory for the future of Garlemald? An unknown voice joins them. Oh dear, he does not wear the mummery well. He never took an interest in tedious conflict, but the whereabouts of his one true friend interests him greatly. He hopes that the beasts of the First are providing us with proper sport. He would know every detail, Lord Xenos, or should he call him Elidibus? Elidibus peers through his flesh and sees the soul of Xenos within. This is most unexpected, to think that immortality could be within reach of those who possess a borrowed echo. He has outdone himself, Xenos, yea Galvus. He has no particular attachment to that name, but he is rather fond of that body. He cannot enjoy his hunt without it. He draws his blade. Your secrets or my flesh, I do not care which you give me first. The choice is his.